Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is April. Today I wanted to go ahead and go over the Celtic Cross with you all. So I did do a previous video that's very unstructured, that kind of goes into my study of the Celtic Cross and what I've discovered in Arthur Edward Waite's version and so forth. But I wanted to present today more of a structured presentation of what it is, how to read it, and do it without actually doing a reading. So this is more of an educational video to kind of show you what the Celtic Cross is. I've gone ahead and selected a significator. And what I thought we would do first is go over the diagram of the layout of the Celtic Cross. Then we'll get into the structure and then the questions, the reading of like how to read it, what each position represents in more depth for you. I am gathering all this information from my tarot guide that I wrote that's available on my Etsy store if you are interested in it. It is called The Fool's Journey Forward. It's only $6.99 over there on my Etsy store. If you're interested, there are links in my About section. If not, I'm going to share all the information here with you anyways, so I hope you enjoy. And right now I'm just going to go ahead and lay out the cards and tell you what each position is. So the first position is the significator. And the significator represents the inquirer, the person inquiring, the present moment, and it is also astrologically it is the cardinal aspect in the reading, okay? Then we have card number 1, which covers the significator. And this card is influence. It is also the present, and it also represents the element of air. Then we have card number 2, which crosses, and this card that crosses is actually the combined energy of the significator and card number 1, and it is representing the present as well and is mutable. So as far as astrology goes, it is a mutable aspect. Mutable because it is combining essentially the inquirer and the main issue at hand. Okay, what is covering the inquirer, and the crossing combination of the two are mutable. And the card will give you some insight on that. So card number 3 then is what covers. Okay, and what covers also represents the inquirer. It is what covers the inquirer. It is the near future, and it also represents the element of air. We then have what is beneath, okay, and that is also representing the inquirer. So what's beneath the inquirer? The past and the element of earth. So we have past, present, near future for the inquirer, okay? Then we have cards number 5 and 6. Well, 5 and 6 in the traditional A.E. Waite version of the Celtic Cross depends on which one's 5 and which one's 6, depends on where the significator is facing. So my significator here is the Queen of Wands, and she is facing to the right. Okay, so card number 5 goes behind the significator. So if she's looking right, her behind is here. So this is going to be 5. If she had been looking to the left, then behind her would have been on the right side. So, and there is a reason that he did this, and we'll get into that more as I read through the structure of the spread for you all. So we're going to put 5 here. So 5 is behind, it's an influence, it's past, and it is the element of earth. Okay, then we have 6, which is before. What is before in front here? That is also an influence. It is the near future, and it is fire. So where here we have the row for the significator, or for the inquirer, right? Here we have the row for the influences. So what we have here is the past, present, near future of the influences affecting the inquirer, okay? Because if you remember, card number 1 was an influence card. And then you have past, present, near future of the inquirer's cards, and the significator is the present here. And then in between this whole cross here is this sideways card, which crosses the two main aspects in the reading, the inquirer and what's covering them. And that is the mutable sign, because it is taking into consideration here, right? You've got past, present, future of the influence, past, present, future of the inquirer, and then you have the what crosses here. Okay, then to expand the reading further, we have the cards on the right. And this card here is card number 7, and this one represents the self. It is also representing the inquirer. It is the present, and it represents fire. Then we have 8, which is the house. It is an influence, and it is the present, and it represents water. So both of these are present moment positionings. And again, adding on, we have an influence, and then you have the inquirer cards, okay? Then you have card number 9, which is hopes and fears, or hopes or fears, okay? And this is an inquirer card, and it is the present moment as well, and it represents water. And then we have card number 10. Oops, too high up there here. Just move it all down a tad. Card number 10 here represents the outcome, okay? So you have the combined energies again, just like this one is a combined. You have the combined, and it is the future, and it is fixed, okay? So you have 3 future cards. This is near future, far future, okay? And then these 3 are also present moment. All right, so that is the layout of the Celtic Cross, the diagram of it, a little bit more than just the questions involved, right? So the questions would be based on the initial keyword I mentioned, which would be the significator, what covers, what crosses, what's beneath, what crowns, what is behind, what is before, and those can be changed because there are mutable aspects here. Then we have the self, the house, hopes and fears, and the outcome. Okay, that's your traditional layout. The additional information I've given is what's built into Waite's original spread. And we'll get into that as I go over the structure, and then we'll go over all the questions for you as well. Okay, so let's go here. Just going to read out of my book here for you all about the structure. So this was first introduced into the world of tarot by Arthur Edward Waite in the Pictorial Key to the Tarot, which is his companion book to the famous Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck. The Celtic Cross is one of the most popular tarot spreads to date, and with good reason. Having stood the test of time, countless variations have been created, and yet the influence of this amazing spread remains unchanged. I believe this is due to the care and intention placed within the spread during its creation. Upon studying its many renditions and the original text it is presented in, a structure is formed that embodies not only the questions presented on the surface, but also the intricate structure within. Much like a clock, many see its function and read it easily, but in the heart of it lay the anatomy, the key components that keep it running. Truly a masterpiece with great elegance, this spread embraces astrology, the elements, and numerology at its core, weaving together like the moving gears of an ornate grandfather clock. And that is what I've shown you here, is not just the questions or the keywords that represent the questions that we'll get into further, but the structure underneath it, right? There are astrological associations based on the cardinal, the fixed, and the mutable elements within the spread. We have the elemental associations, earth, air, fire, water, okay? And it also embraces some numerology, which we'll get into as I read further here for you. Okay, so going on, we're going to explain all that to you. Astrology is present in the form of three of the three modalities shown in three positions. The significator, oops, let me move this up here. Our significator, just lost my spot, as the initiator, represents the cardinal modality. Position 2, what crosses, embodies the instabilities created by the inquirer and influences, representing the mutable modality. So that is not only the combination, right? You have the inquirer and the main issue, but this row representing the influences, and this row is basically a broader version, right? So this crosses explains these two cards, and then on a grander level explains these influences as well, okay? And then even further, the cards on the side. Card 10 then, as the stable outcome, represents the fixed modality. So in Arthur Edward Waite's original version of this spread, if this was an unstable answer, you did the whole reading again with card 10 as the significator card to come out with a stable, because this needs to be a very stable outcome because it is represented by the fixed modality in astrology. Now, you don't certainly need to know all of this in depth in order to read the spread. Many people have read it for a very long time, just using the keyword for each position and the question associated with that keyword. But it is fun and interesting to dive deeper, to have an understanding of the structure of the spread and how it was built. And it can also give you deeper insight into the meaning of the cards. So on one level, and I think I have this written somewhere in here, I do explain that anyone can read this spread simply by using the questions. But if you want to dive deeper, this is the information that's going to get you there, okay? So you will also see the movability of positions 5 and 6, okay? Past and future influences on either side of the stack of the three cards. In the middle, the significator as the inquirer, what covers as the influence, and what crosses as the conflicts present when the two combine, further supporting the mutable nature of the connection between inquirer and influences, okay? Because these are mutable as well, in that they can switch positions here. The elements of earth, air, fire, and water appear 3 times with positions each in the inquirer questions 3, 4, 7, and 9. Okay, so we've got 3, 4, 7, and 9. So you've got a square there. Those are all elemental cards for the inquirer. Okay. And the influences, questions 1, 5, and 6, or 5 and 6, depending on which position they're in, and 8. So the influence positions all have an element. So influence, 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 each have one of the 4 elements. And then we have inquirer, 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 inquirer. This is also the inquirer, but these four hold the elements. The significator, while it's the inquirer, holds a cardinal aspect. So it's not a element card per se. Okay. Where was I? Additionally, in the use of elemental dignities. So there is the use of elemental dignities within this spread. One in reading it and also in the selection of the significator card. I think I go into that right here. So let's read further. Elemental dignities show up 3 times as well in comparing card pairs, inquirer cards with influence cards, and in A.E. Waite's method of selecting the significator. As the assignment of age to court class is based on the elemental dignities pairing of contrary elements. Knights are fire and queens are water for age 40 plus, and kings are air and pages earth for age less than 40. That's how Waite comes up with a significator, and he uses the court cards to do so. Okay, now you can certainly use any method you choose in selecting a significator card. There are many, and I've got all those options listed out in my Fool's Journey Forward. But Waite himself used the court cards, and it's important to note because his use of the court cards were because of the elemental dignities present within the cards. So if you read the elemental dignities section or go check out my Instagram, it's on there as well. It goes further into understanding, you know, why Knights of Fire and Queens of Water are combined and King Air and Page of Earth are combined together. Where it's very traditional, sometimes different traditions show combinations of, you would think King and Queen would maybe be 40 plus. Well, it's not, because it's not based on their age doesn't determine the pairings of the 2 older cards and the 2 younger cards. It's the elemental dignities. But that's a video for a whole nother day. So fitting cleverly into number symbolism, the question titles are laid out in harmony. 1, essentially basically being a start. 2 is what is crossing, like 2 crossing. Think of like the 2 of swords, right? Creating a cross. 3, the number of points in a crown. 4, the foundation beneath, and so on. So there is structure as well then within the numerology, the thought process of applying each question in each position based in numerological order of the positions. Numerology also is ever present in the number 3 many times over, which as we've already started to see in the spread, as seen in the modalities, the 3 astrological modalities, the elements and the elemental dignities are all listed. So you have those 3 aspects. So 1, there's 3 modalities, and then 2, you have modalities, elements, and elemental dignities. That's 3. But also in the inquirer, influences, and the combined energies, right? We have inquirer cards, influence cards, and the combined cards. Okay. We also have past, present, future of the influence, past, present, future of the inquirer. The 3 key structures, astrology, elements, numerology, as well as the shuffling includes repeating the process 3 times. So not covering that in the book here, but if you, actually it might be later down in here, the way that Waite shuffles the cards, I think the detail of that is in a different section in my book, but I touch on the fact that you can use his method of shuffling or another one. But the way he does it is he repeats the process 3 times. This repetition of 3s is very important in the structure and how he built this and created this spread. Okay, even card 9 represents three possible meanings. It could mean hopes, it could be fears, or it could be hopes and fears. It's very strategic the way he placed that in there. And then also with that, you also start to see with all these threes and the three possibilities on card number 9, that with all these 3 times 3s, 3 times 3 is 9, showing up in the clockwork of the spread, it's no wonder the spread is a timeless classic. So whether you are learning the spread for any type of tarot reading, whether that's psychological or intuition or magical, Waite himself was a very spiritual person, but he was also a magical practitioner. So naturally, he has that built into the spread as well. You don't have to know or understand all of this that we're going into, but it is interesting to know. And for those who are magical practitioners, even in some case metaphysical, you can take this information here and really dive even deeper into the spread. So I think it's very fascinating to share this information. All the techniques aside, what is presented here is an interpretation of the spread's original form. So this is not a recreation of the spread, but rather it's my perspective of the spread. When I read his book, The Pictorial Key to the Tarot, I saw it. This is what I saw, his structure, how he built it, how the clockwork is pieced together and woven together to create this spread. But it's very ingenious because you don't have to know and understand all of that in order to read the spread. And that is why I think it has lasted truly the test of time. It's built into the spread. Okay. You don't have to believe that, but I do. And so basically, tarot readers of all levels, it's accessible to you. So this structure that I am sharing, even though I'm able to share the structure of it, you can still just take the questions and read the spread as always. Okay, so it's accessible to the beginner and the advanced reader as well, and whether you read magically or not. Okay, so now we're going to go into the spread itself. Okay, now I do have this spread, and most of what I'm reading here for you as well is on my Instagram, but sharing the information on my Instagram, it's kind of hard to fit it all into the frames. I'm going to try and fix that at a later date and find a better way. It will just be a lot of images though, but it is available there. But if you're interested in an easy to read format, you can go over to my Etsy store. It's all written in Fool's Journey Forward as well. Okay, a few things of note with regard to the spread. For the ease of the reader, I have abbreviated the title of each question down to 1 or 2 words. For example, question number 10 was changed from what will come to outcome. So it still essentially means the same thing. It is not deviating from its core definition. It's just for the ease of the reader. I made sure that each title of the positions were only 1 or 2 words. Okay. I have also opted to paraphrase the original questions, meaning I did not word for word use Waite's description, but I paraphrased it in order to give them a little bit more brevity while still expressing their original purpose, at the same time giving the additional insight into the design of the spread. So I wanted to mainly show the design of the spread here, as well as the spread itself. And so I was able to, cleverly with my writing, express the same exact questions, but in slightly different wording, as well as fitting into that wording the structure that I just went over with you. So it kind of explains it all in the questions with brevity for you. but the questions are authentic to the original Waite's version that he presented, which is the first time we see the Celtic Cross in a spread format. He does explain in his book that the spread was a ancient Celtic method of reading, but this is the first time it's been put into a spread for tarot instead of used as like a ritual or something. I'm not 100% sure how they did it back in the day, but he explains all that in his book if you're interested in that. And also staying true to the original version, I have listed Waite's variation for selecting the significator and shuffling the deck, but feel free to use other methods as you desire. And I have a separate section or chapter in my tarot guide here that actually explains different methods of shuffling and goes into Waite's method as well, included in that. Okay, so moving on. A significator essentially represents the inquirer when the reading has to do with that individual, another person when the reading is about a third party, or an issue for a matter directly related to a situation or event. So there's your threes again. It can be any one of those three. So where inquirer is indicated in the spread below that I'm going to go over, it refers to whichever applies, the inquirer, person, or issue. So if it's a person or issue, then any inquirer card also gets replaced with either person or issue. Okay, it's based on the significator card, what the reading is for. Okay, so you would begin by selecting your significator card and placing it face up on the table. And I'm going to go ahead and we're going to see, I have something to look at too. As I read through it, we'll lay out the cards. Okay, and like I said, we're not doing a reading. This is just an educational video to kind of show you and help you understand the original Celtic Cross, the one that Arthur Edward Waite designed, both in a way to easily read it and in a way to kind of dive deeper and understand its full ingenious structure that he's got going on here with this spread. Okay, so we're going to take the Inquirer card. For an issue, when the question involves conditions surrounding a specific situation or event, such as timing or effect other than how it relates to the individual, assess its nature and choose a major arcana or a pip card that best represents the matter at hand. That is what Waite indicated or states in his book. And if it is a person, then it's a court card in his book, but you can use any method you choose. For an issue, or I just read that, sorry. Next, keep the cards face down. Okay, so we're keeping them face down, and you are going to shuffle and cut the deck using your preferred method. Oh, I see. But then you're going to repeat it 3 times. So it's not just his shuffling method, but you're basically, what his method is that you are going to shuffle for this particular spread. He wants you to do it 3 times. So if my shuffling method was to riffle shuffle and then split the deck in 3, right? Then I'm going to do that 3 times. If my method is to side shuffle and then riffle shuffle, or, you know, whatever combination you have, whatever way you shuffle, and then maybe split the deck in half, if that's my way to do it, I'm going to then repeat that 3 times while the cards are face down so I don't see the cards. That is, again, adding the 3 times 3 into his spread, so it adds more power and significance into the spread if you choose to use that method like he suggests. Okay. Once you've done it 3 times, so we say we've done it 3 times, then you're going to place the cards here, pulling off the top of the deck. We'll place it here so they're not in the way, in order of sequence, and you're going to place each card face up on the table in the appropriate position For each question, reviewing each card as you go and comparing them to surrounding cards. So what that means is as you go, we are going to pull up card number 1. We have the King of Swords, okay? Then you're going to also go, okay, you're going to read this card and see how it applies to this card. Card number 2, Ace of Swords. Okay, read that card. How does it apply to these other cards as well? So we're building on it as we go, okay? Reviewing each card as you go, comparing them to the surrounding cards that are present. The significator through 2 are the center basis of the question. 3 through 6 focus on the scope of the circumstances, right? So if we have, face up, we do like 3 through 6, okay, then that's in scope, right? So this is the basis of the question at hand, right? This is the core of everything. Then you have it in scope here, right? So it spreads out a little bit further, okay? Whereas 7 through 9, they're all right. I didn't shuffle reversed, okay? 7, 8, and 9, okay, those all represent, or they allow you to take a step back and gain a wider perspective. So here's your core of it. Here's what's in your immediate scope. And these cards, these 3 here, are you taking a step back to get a broader perspective of this whole situation. Sometimes you can see things clearer if you take a step back from them instead of hyper-focusing on, you know, with blinders on just the center cards. So that's the purpose of them here. And then concluding with card 10 as the outcome, okay? And card 10, after turning over and reading all of the cards, including the 10th card, review the spread as a whole, okay? And then I have this listed at the end of the questions, but I'll tell it to you now. And then card 10 basically is meant to be a fixed position. So as such, if the conclusion is dubious or no final decision or not a clear outcome, then Waite says to take this card and place it as the significator and do another reading so that there is clarity, because this is supposed to be a final outcome. Okay, all right, so now we're going to go into the basics of it for you guys. We're going to just run through each position and the question for you. Again, for quick reference, it is on my Instagram listed as a post, but you may have to screenshot it and make the images larger to read it all very well, as well as it's available in Fool's Journey Forward over on my Etsy store. If you do want to support my channel or my content in any way, my Etsy store is the best way to do that. All right, getting into the questions. So S significator is inquirer present cardinal. It is a card to represent the inquirer, person, or issue in the current state. Place on the center of the table. Card number 2 is covers. Influence, present, and air. Current influence, internal or external. Place vertically on top of card S, as you see we've done here. Card 2 is crosses. So we get significator 1 and 2. 2 is crosses. It is combined energy. It is the present, and it is mutable. It is opposing forces, the current nature of the obstacle and or conflict of the inquirer and influence combined. And it gets placed horizontally on top of card 1. Okay. Then we have cards 3, which crowns. It is representing the inquirer, it is the near future, and it is air. Inquirer's near future aim or ideal that is not yet been made actual. It's the goal. Okay, then we have beneath, inquirer, past and earth. Inquirer's foundation, the basis or experience already past, the past. Okay, and then behind, we're putting 5 here and 6 here for sake of this reading. Behind is influence, past and earth, past or just now passing influence. And I've stated here to place in position behind the left or right of the significator card based on the direction the significator is facing. If not facing left or right, or there is no person in the card, decide ahead of time which positions are 5 and 6. Do you want 5, 6 or 5, 6? And since you pull the significator ahead of time, you can decide before you even start shuffling the cards, okay, what position is what. Before position is influence, near future, and fire. It is the near future or just now coming into action influence. Okay, card number 7 is the self. It represents the inquirer, the present, and fire. The inquirer, overall position, stance, or attitude in the circumstances. Number 8 is house. It's an influence card. It is in the present and it represents water. So the environment, characteristics, and or predispositions formed by the influences of career, family, friends, etc. that have an overall effect on the inquirer. And then we have card number 9, hopes, fears, or hopes and fears. Inquirer, present, water. It represents the inquirer's hopes or fears or hopes and fears. And card number 10, the outcome is combined, future and fixed. What will come, culmination, final result. And again, if card number 10 is meant to be a fixed position as such, if the conclusion is dubious, no final decision or no clear outcome, then take card 10, place it as the significator, and do another reading for further clarity on the issue at hand. Okay, and there you guys have it. That is Arthur Edward Waite's Celtic Cross, from the pictorial key to the tarot. I believe, and I don't know if I must not have this written in here, his actual original title for it was, I believe, a Celtic method, an ancient Celtic method for reading or something like that. Where I think I have it right here somewhere. Do I? Let me see if I've got it. I may or may not have it on hand. No, I'm not sure where my printout is of his book, but at any rate, the term Celtic Cross is something that has come up over time that was applied to his spread. So if you are looking for the original spread and you're having a hard time back searching it online, it is because he did not call his spread the Celtic Cross. He called it was something like an ancient Celtic method of divination or something like that. And because of the cross shape and the Celtic background where he got the essence of the spread for what he created, it has been called the Celtic Cross. So there you have it. I hope this was helpful and insightful to you. Please let me know down in the comments, and I will see you all next time.